Things keep changing, but nothing really happens here. We're recording. Okay, I'll go ahead and call to order this hearing of March 21st, 2025 in the matter of LU 2025-001 CUP Back 9 Golf Facility. My name is Joe Turner. I'm the city's hearings officer. I'll start with some brief announcements and a summary of the process that will follow. Given that it's the applicant, staff, and myself in the room, I will make this as short as possible, but there's certain things I'm required to hit under state law. I start by saying I'm not a city employee. I'm licensed as an attorney and trained as a planner. I serve under contract to the city council. I say that so you know you're getting a somewhat independent review of the application before me tonight. My role as the hearings officer is to conduct public hearings and make decisions about certain land use matters in the city of Sherwood. In making those decisions, I'm required to apply the city's existing laws. I'm not a policymaker. I don't have the authority to vary from or change the law. If anyone thinks that the law needs to be changed, they can work with city council and planning commission to do that. But state law requires that this application be judged based on the laws in effect when the application was filed. As a hearings officer, I'm to provide an unbiased decision maker. I believe I am unbiased with regard to this application. I haven't had any pre-hearing contact with any of the parties regarding the substance of the application, and I don't have any interest in the subject property or any of the surrounding properties. But anyone has the right to challenge my impartiality, to argue that I'm biased in one way or another, and they can do that when it's their opportunity to testify. Procedure will follow. I'll start by asking staff to summarize their staff report, copies of which are available on the city's website. And the applicant will have the opportunity to present their proposal and respond to the staff report. If anybody else shows up and wants to say something about this application, they may do so. Then I'll give staff and the applicant the opportunity to respond to the testimony that was offered. I'll close the hearing and announce what I'm going to do. Generally, I'll issue a written decision within about 2 weeks after the close of the record. So I'll send my decision to the city. The city will send it to parties of record. So anybody who testifies orally or in writing before the close of the record will be sure and receive a copy of my decision. It is important that all parties make their best case to me. My decisions are subject to appeal to the Planning Commission. However, it's important. However, the Planning Commission may not allow new testimony and evidence on appeal. They may decide the appeal based on the record before me. So if you feel it's important that myself or any future decision maker knows something about this application, you need to make sure it gets into the record before me. In order to preserve your right to appeal, you or someone expressly representing you must testify orally or in writing before the close of the record. And in order to raise an issue on appeal, someone must have raised that issue before me with enough specificity that everyone can understand what it is. And if the applicant wants to object to any conditions of approval on constitutional grounds, they must raise those objections before me as well. If anyone feels they need more time to prepare, they can ask me to hold the record open or continue the hearing. If I hold the record open, you'll have an opportunity to submit additional written testimony and evidence before I make a decision. If I continue the hearing, we can come back and do this again at a later date. But all state law requires that I hold the record open for an additional week for the applicant alone to submit a final written argument The applicant can waive that right if they choose. But if anybody else wants me to hold the record open for any other purpose or to continue the hearing, you must make that request before the hearing is the conclusion of the hearing tonight. When you testify, please begin by stating your name and full mailing address. Please spell your last name so I get it right, although everybody's name is in front of me, I think. Yes. And that concludes my introduction. Thank you, Mr. Hamlin.
Thank you, hearings officer. So tonight we're going to start with a presentation to kind of go over the parameters of the proposal and the project. And so staff has prepared a slideshow for more kind of a brief overview. So I can see. So tonight the applicant is noted as Eric Fitzgerald. The location of the site is 20345 Southwest Pacific Highway. The request includes an establishment of a use categorized as indoor recreational facilities equating to approximately 3,755 square feet. This is including accessory business professional office space equating to 129 square feet, zoning it light industrial, and it has been reviewed under a type 3 conditional use procedural type as defined under chapter 16.72. Here you can get a brief overview of all the different criterion that were applicable through this application and further defined within the staff report that was made available 7 days prior to the hearing. The site is located kind of in the northeastern portion of Sherwood. You can look at the land use case history, originally approved in 1992, further expanded in 1995. We did include a caveat for a plan amendment that did occur in 97 as an overall policy change. Previously, it was allowed to have general commercial uses operate in light industrial zones. And council at the time had determined that in order to achieve the goals and intent of the comprehensive plan, that portion of code be removed from the use schedule. Similarly, correspondence with staff in 2001 indicated that retail service uses similar to what has been kind of already established into that site could continue to operate under a non-conforming clause, which in this case, this use was categorically different than what had been existing. So hence why it has to go through the contemporary review process. So with that said, the zoning code as it is presented today does allow indoor recreational facilities to be allowed within light industrial zones given it receives a conditional use permit. The surrounding zones in themselves are office commercial, general commercial, retail commercial, and areas within the UGB that have not been formally annexed into the city. Looking at our conditional use criterion, you can kind of briefly see these were already kind of annotated in the report, but generally it just needs to conform to other standards of the applicable zone district. The granting of the proposal meets the needs of the overall community, achieves the goals and policies of the comprehensive plan and other applicable criterion such as like the TSP. Surrounding properties will not be adversely impacted. It does not pose any significant adverse impacts to wildlife or anything of the kind. And these were also further delineated within the staff report itself. Kind of getting kind of a more on the ground look, you can see the existing structure. And this was as of September 2017. The proposal does not include any actual alterations to any of the actual site. So, no formal elevations were submitted with this proposal, but this gives you a good idea of kind of the existing conditions as it stands today. Looking at site plan area and access to the site, there's parking and driveway aisles kind of surrounding the four kind of areas that kind of come together to create the one individual structure. Right here, these two were part of phase 1, and then phase phase 4 came in under the 95 permit. They have two access points on Southwest Pacific Highway, with kind of a red light being kind of located up here to kind of help mitigate any traffic issues or concerns. Looking at the interior tenant improvement floor plan, you can see what the applicant is proposing in terms of interior alterations and kind of the layout of the business model in and of itself. Because it is a conditional use permit and there's no actual alterations to the site physically, comments were pretty limited in terms of engineering's review. It has domestic water, sanitary sewers, stormwater service that are all sufficient to support the use at hand. We also did coordinate with ODOT, the Oregon Department of Transportation, to kind of extrapolate if they had any issues or concerns with the proposal. And they indicated that no further review is necessary. No additional conditions, nothing of similar kind. So due to the limited nature of this subject site too, there was no requirement for a dedicated PUE or additional installation of Sherwood broadband, which is normally required for developments within the area that don't already have those facilities integrated into their site. And at this time, there have been no updates or revisions to the staff report as presented. So just to briefly go over public notice, public testimony, and just comments. We did route this to our agency departments, including ODOT and Washington County on February 27th. And we did not receive any formalized feedback from them in that manner. We also did public notice to property owners, on-site posting, and general citywide posting, placed in five conspicuous places throughout the city on or before February 27th, 2025. And then we also published notice of this hearing on March 6th and March 13th, at least 2 weeks prior to the initial hearing. Again, at this time, we've not received any public comments or have anybody in the audience right now indicating that they would like to provide public comments at this time. So staff feel that everything is pretty much sufficiently covered in that regard. So at this time, staff finds that the application LU 2025-001 Back 9 Golf Facility will meet the requirements of the city code as described in the findings and conditions of approval in the staff report dated March 14th, 2025. Therefore, staff recommends the hearing officer approve the application subject to these findings and conditions of approval to further defined in that report. The hearing officer does have alternatives that they could pursue. They can approve the application based on the findings and conditions in the staff report dated March 14th. They can approve the application with the revised findings and or conditions, which is also further supported within the conditional use criterion that the hearings officer may add additional conditions as they perceive is necessary to support the comprehensive plan, the TSP, and other factoids that are necessary to be met within our existing documentation. They can deny the application with the revised findings. And I think at that's all staff has at this time.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any questions at this point. Mr. Fitzgerald, I understand you're the applicant.
Yes. There we go. My name is Eric Fitzgerald. I live at 226 North White Oak Street in Newburgh, Oregon. I'm the applicant in this case, looking to open this Back 9 Golf Facility. I feel like I've met all the criteria that was laid forth by Hugo and his team on conditional use permit. One thing I really want to focus on is just it's a specialized recreational opportunity for the city of Sherwood that I think could add a ton of value. You know, I've played golf virtually all of my life, and it's taught me so much. You know, in a round of golf, you have highs, you have lows, you have setbacks, you have victories. And it's just a great tool to teach kids, young, old, male, female, about life in general. And the beauty of my facility, it's, you know, people of all ages are going to be able to come play. You can have kids come there with their dads, learn the game, not have to worry about spending 4 hours on a golf course, spending hundreds of dollars. It's going to be an affordable way to teach the game to young people. If you're an aspiring, college golfer and you want to get really, really good at golf, we're going to present that opportunity by having cutting edge technology there so they can learn data, get better at golf. And then if you look at the senior community, it's hard work walking a golf course in Oregon in the winter. It gets sloppy, it gets muddy, and it can be a grind. So the beauty of our indoor facility, we're going to have 3 separate bays you can book out like you would just a golf course. Our max capacity at any point in time is 12 people. You can book the bay for an hour to 3, depending on which membership you want. And you can play around the golf in 2 hours. So, you and your buddies get together. It's a Saturday morning. You've got kids, you have responsibilities, but you have that itch to come play golf. You can play in 2 hours and be home and take care of everything else. Like I said, if you're a senior, it gives you a way to keep playing the game without having to walk, without having to get a cart, all that kind of fun stuff. Plan on partnering with local golf teams. Get some sort of membership going with them so they can come and practice year round, give them that opportunity that they don't have now. There's a wellness component to it as well. Partnering with Golf Forever is a program that's sponsored with the Back Nine. It just keeps you in shape when it comes to golf. It's about stretching and moving and just being being as healthy as you can for as long as you can, and then playing the game as golf as well. Like I said, I think we've met all the criteria of the conditional use permit. We're going to be a low impact place. We're not doing anything to the outside of the building. We're just building 3 stalls, a little seating area and a putting green inside. I had to chuckle, it talks about noise. We're going to share a wall with the Doty Dance Studio. So I don't think they'll even know we're there. I've been in there a couple of times when they're practicing the Nutcracker or whatever the case may be, and they're great people, but the noise is not going to be a problem with the Back Nine.
Yeah.
In reading the staff report, it sounds like I need to put in some bike racks before occupancy can be finalized, which won't be an issue at all. But I think we've met all the criteria when it comes to the conditional use permit.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
But
For the record, there is nobody else in the audience, so anything further from staff, just to make sure.
Nothing at this time.
Okay. Anything else you want to add, Mr. Fitzgerald?
no, I don't think so. Nothing at this
Okay.
time.
As the applicant, you have the right to have me to submit a final written argument. Do you want to waive that?
I do.
Okay. With that, I'll close the hearing. I'll close the record. Based on the findings in the staff report, the application does comply or will comply with the approval criteria subject to the conditions of approval. So I will approve it subject to those conditions, and I'll issue my decision to that effect within a maximum of 2 weeks. I'm sure I'll get it out much sooner because it's an easy one. But that concludes our hearing.
All right. Thank you.